Hello folks, my name is Atreus and in this video we are going to make a huge climax like WW and other rave culture tracks. I've already made the project and I want to show you how to make those bigger sounding climax. Let me show you first of all how it sounds. Let me play it. This sounds so amazing and I want to share with you how to make this bigger sounding climax. Let's start with some leads and our lead sounds like this. And this was the first half of the melody, and let me show you other half of the melody. I've did some small tweaks in the melodies and it sounds like this. As you can hear, it is having some slight changes in the melodies just to make sure that it doesn't get boring as the sound proceeds towards the end. And let me show you the lead layering. This is the first lead. Actually, this is our main sound which I layered around it, and more sounds are layered around this sound. So yeah, this is the first hardstyle lead which I used as a main lead, and second lead sounds like this. Is having some pitch modulation and some of the weird resonances here and there which makes it more unique. It is also a hardstyle lead and every sound I used are from the silent one. So yeah, you can get these easily. And this is our third lead. This lead I used as a purpose of the energy in the high end, because its high end is very crispy and also very airy, so I use this. And I use this lead for the punch of the lead, because as I was layering I heard that the lead is not having enough transient to cut through the mix, so I layered this sound as a main punch lead. This lead I use because I want to make the climax powerful as well as very airy, and yes, this lead makes it more interesting because it is having the airy high end, and that's why I used this. And this is our sixth lead sounds. This is the old school ravey kind of sound which I use is as a stack of the lead, which gives more power to the climax lead, and that's why I use this. This is our seventh sound. This is the traditional sabers kind of lead which I use this in the stack of the lead, and this is our eighth sound. And eighth sound is our plucky lead, which is having some bouncy character with the pitch modulation, because the transient of this pluck is made from the pitch modulation of the transient, and that's why I use this, because it's giving the more interesting character to the leads. This is our lead sounding now. You can hear that our lead sounds way more powerful and way more airy as well. Let me show you the processing of this. The processing is very common. Let me show you how I done it. This is our lead without the processing. This is our lead with the processing. So what I done it in the processing part of the lead is this EQ, boosting some high end, cutting some resonances in the high frequencies, boosting some low mids and boosting some 400 region, and all I did in the key of the song, and also rolling off the low end, which makes the space for the other sounds as well. Make sure you have cut all the low end from your mixes which doesn't require the low end. And second plugin is our spiff. What spiff is doing? Spiff is a transient enhancer, and it is enhancing the transient in the above 1 kilohertz region. It's doing this work. Let me show you. It's making the transient more powerful and making the leads cutting through the mix more, and sounds like this. And then I added the OTT, and what OTT is doing, OTT is giving the lead more compression, giving some boost in the high end, and I've reduced the downward compression and increased the upward compression. What upward compression do is makes the lower audible sounds more audible. Yeah, it gives the, and I saw that after adding the OTT, I've lost clarity and increased some of the harsh frequency. That's why I used the soothe to reduce those harshness in the sound, and what it's doing. Is taming those frequency which I don't need and making the sound more clarity wise powerful. And then I added this short reverb just to make sure that our lead stays in some kind of space and having some dimension. As you can hear that our leads are now sounding more in the dimension and more of a 3D kind of thing, not just a 2D. And then I added the images just to widen up the sound, and that's how it sounds. Now it's more wide, more powerful, having some dimension and not sounding overpowering. And after the processing, I just added some reverb and delays on the sends, and I have used Arts Acoustic Reverb, which is very common for the big room producers because it sounds very good and having that big room kind of feel. And for delay, I used the Fruity Delay 2. It's a stock plugin from FL Studio. And after the delay, I've used a short reverb just to make sure that those delay not having on your face feel but should be in the back. With reverb and delay, it sounds like this. As you can see, it's sounding very powerful. As after we perfected the leads, now we move on to the chord section, and our chord sounds like this. And as you can see, our chords is following the rhythm of the leads, and the MIDI of the chord sounds like this. I'm not using the second note from the chord, but I've pitched it 1 octave up just to make sure that our chord sounds airy but not muddy at the same time. Let me show you the preset I've used in the chord section, and first sounding like this. It's a Savers chord which sounds very good in my opinion, so I used it. And second is also the Savers chord but not so detuned. Let me show you. And our third sound of the chord sounds like this. This preset I've used because I wanted to make our chord sounds way bigger and having information more on the sides. That's why I use this, because it's heavily detuned and it's on the sides, not in the front. And fourth sounds like this. And I've used this sound because it's having a very nice character in the high end, not so sharp, not so dull. And I've used it one octave up from the other, and it's having also a very nice transient in the beginning. That's why I use this. The fifth chord sounds like this. Fifth sound is having a kind of bouncy feeling to it, and also a bit information in the high end, and also having the detuned feature which is widening up the sound. And these all preset leading towards this huge sounds. For the processing part of the chords, I did nothing special, but I boosted some of the mid end in the chord section, rolled off everything below 200 Hz, and just putting down these resonances because these are very sharp to the ears and not. Then I added the Saturn 2 just to warm up the sound. Then I added the OTT just to make sure that we have a compression going on, and also a bit enhancement in the very high end, and the escalator just to make sure that we have some saturation going on and without compromising the transient of chords. And the same trick with the reverb, very short reverb just to give the space. And then I added some Euro bass which sounds like this. It's a simple preset from the ANG pack called Rolling Bass from Silent One. It sounds very good. I use this Euro bass because I wanted energy going in the low end of this song. So that's why I use this, because it's rolling and giving the thrust in the low end. Then I use this distorted bass, sounds like this. And for the processing of the distorted bass is this. I've used some Saturn 2 for warming of the sound and cut the low end from the sound, giving some reverb so that I can boost the high end with the reverb, so that it's having that glittery feeling when I boosted the high end. And after the reverb, I just distorted and saturated more of this sound with escalator and giving fattening effect from the fruity wave shaper, which is distorting the sound and also fattening up the sound. And then I added the OTT, which is very heavily used in this sound, 56%, which is pretty heavy, and boosted some of the high end so that I can get a very nice high end from this sound. And then I just tamed some of the high mid frequency and boosted the very high frequency from this song and roll off the very low end. And then I added the fruity enhancer plugin just to have the harsh effect going on, so that our distorted bass shifted towards the sides, not in the middle, because in the middle we have the Euro bass going on. So that was the processing part of basses, and together they sounds like this. After the chords and bass, let's move on to the atmospheric stuff, which are pads and choirs, etc. So first pad I used is this. Second pad I've used is this. And this is the MIDI of the pads. I've added second note because I wanted body from the chords. These are the very good notes, which is making these chords sounding more of a journey kind of vibe. And third pad I've used is the actually choir preset from the Nexus. It sounds like this. This choir sounds very epic because it's having that very organic sounding choir, and also with these top notes it gets way more emotional and way more progressing. And for the second part of the climax, I used this bigger choir plus string preset from the Nexus. It sounds like this. So as you can hear, it's very emotional in that second part, and it just opens up the gate of the heaven to me. With everything else, it sounds like this. As you can hear, these pad sounds, these organic choirs and string sounds adds more weight in the climax. If you are doing the climax, always use these organic sounds. It helps you approach towards more bigger climax. And then I added some of the clap effects as a downlifter, some hits just to have that drum roll rhythm going on in the low end. This sounds very epic and very dramatic to me. And then I added this ambient drone which sounds like this. It's having that very suspense type of ambient sound, and it's very mysterious to me. That's why I used it. And then in the second part of the climax, I've used these claps, these stadium claps, for the rhythm going on, so that listener can imagine that build up or something new is coming in. Yeah, it sounds like this. And just to wind things up, I've used this impact just to make sure that we are ending up the climax and something new is going to happen. And this is our end project after everything we have done. Please do subscribe and please do share and like this video so that I can have the motivation to make the new videos in the near future for you guys. Hope you guys learned something new from this video. I've put down the FLP link in the description. It's free for everyone and make sure to download it. This is our final sound.